Good evening, members, officers and members of the public, and welcome to this Joint Transportation Board 22nd March 2022. As usual, I'll start with housekeeping. If the fire alarm is activated, please vacate the offices via the stairs opposite the lifts in the foyer. Please do not use the lifts. Assemble in Hawley Square on the green, and officers will assist you and advise when it is deemed safe to return to the chamber. Could everyone present please ensure their mobile phones are switched to silent, that they are not used to make or receive calls in the chamber whilst this meeting is in progress. I would advise that if filming takes place, anyone in attendance in the public area may have their image captured. I urge anyone filming proceedings to avoid filming members of the public, particularly if there are children present. Does anyone intend to film? Thank you. Apologies for absence. I have apologies from Councillor Binks and Councillor Lewis. Agenda item 2, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? No, thank you. Right, agenda item 3, minutes of the previous meeting. Do members agree that the minutes of the Joint Transportation Board meeting held on the 14th of December 2021 be approved and signed as a correct record? May I have a proposer, please? Councillor Crowe-Brown, seconder. Councillor Scobie. Thank you very much. Do members agree? Agree. Thank you. Agenda item 4 is a Highway Works Programme 2021-22 and 2022-23. As we don't have a KCC officer present, any questions or comments will be recorded and passed on to the relevant officers. Do members have any questions or comments on the report, please? Councillor Crowe-Brown.
Yeah, as Councillor Binks cannot make it tonight, I've been asked to ask a few questions throughout the proceedings. But yeah, agenda item 4, Appendix I. KCC maintain public rights of way, but can TDC confirm if they clean them all? If not, can we have a list of which ones they don't do?
Thank you. I think we need to have that answer. Get back to you with that answer, because we obviously haven't got that answer. So we will have to get back to you on that, Crowe-Brown. Thank you. So Tonks? Councillor Yates.
Thank you, Chair. It was just a question on page 4. New Cross Street is having its footway reconstruction, and as part of that, the road has changed back to its original direction as part of this Old Town traffic management. I'm just wondering if there's any plans to change that following the completion of the works. Thank you.
Unfortunately, once again, I haven't got an answer for you because we haven't got an officer here with us. But James will have taken that down and we will get back to you with that one. Thank you.
Just a question. I just wonder why there's nobody from KCC present. If we can turn up, why can't they?
Well, unfortunately, allegedly, the officer that would be here, I won't mention his name, but you know he normally comes. At KCC, they're still not allowing them to come face to face. That is what we've been told. So we can't have face because we can't, if we have that, we can't have live streaming. So we can't have both. So unfortunately, we can't have an officer here. Thank you. Right, this report is for information. So please can members note the report. Thank you. Agenda item 5, Management Act update. I call upon Miss Button, Director of Neighbourhoods, to introduce the report.
Thank you very much, Chair. So this is a brief summary of the changes that are coming into place on the 31st of May 2022 to the Traffic Management Act. It's essentially a consolidation of all of our traffic orders and regulations into the one act, which makes it very much easy for us to enforce. The biggest change isn't to do with us at TDC, it's actually to do with KCC. And I was asked by the Vice Chair to just bring this report to summarise where we're at with that. So the biggest change to KCC is moving traffic offence enforcement. So that's where you park in box junctions, where you use bus lanes and you shouldn't do, that kind of moving traffic enforcement. We're not responsible for that. That is with KCC. They have to apply to the Secretary of State to be given that power, and they are in the process of doing that. You've probably read about this since I wrote this report in the Kent Online, so I'm kind of probably repeating everything you already know. But they are looking at specific areas to target to start with enforcement for moving traffic offences. And they have made it, the legislation has made it, and the guidance has made it very clear that not all signs and markings will be enforced, and that they are only looking to target problem locations. So I think the thing that we've taken from that as TDC officers is, if we have or become aware of places where we know we have ongoing issues with moving traffic, or not moving as the case may be, we will raise that with KCC, and I think that's something that we would encourage others to do in order that if we need to, we can become one of those hotspot places. But yeah, that's about it, so I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Penny. Do members have any questions or comments on the report, please? Councillor Fellows.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Obviously, you said this is all to do with KCC and things they're bringing in. If you look at the legislative changes, paragraph 2.5, it says, in summary, Thanet District Council already, for the 31st of May, we've made the appropriate changes to penalty charge notices. So can you just confirm what is TDC and what is KCC?
So our changes are the actual, on our fixed penalty notices, you have to have the correct legislation in order for them to be enforceable, and that legislation changes. So the bit for TDC is the consolidating. So at the moment we've got lots and lots of different regulations. They're all going to be under the Traffic Management Act, and that will be, so our fixed penalty notices literally are changing the title at the top of them. Right. And the appeals. So it's just so that you're aware that we are all ready for that and good to go. So anything that we serve on the 30th has to be under one set of regulations, and it has to be followed all the way through the process under that set of regulations, and anything issued from the 31st onwards has to be under the new regulations.
Thank you, Penny. So the problem areas, who's going to choose those problem areas?
Sorry, KCC are choosing those.
So are we allowed to submit areas to them for consideration? Because I know there's some areas that could do with...
Sorry, they haven't come to us with any suggestions yet of how they're putting those places forward. Right. But I think it's, at the moment, they're at the very start of the process. So I think it will be something that evolves over time. And as I said, we will be looking at anything that we get to refer on to them to make sure that they are aware of any hotspots that we're aware of in Thanet.
So can I make you aware of a hotspot?
Absolutely.
Right, thank you. You want me to tell you now? No,
you can email me.
Any other questions from members? Councillor Tonks.
Yellow boxes, who's going to enforce this? And the other question would be, are you looking forward to the changes on the 31st of May? Because it sounds to me going to get more complicated. Thank you.
It'll be KCC that enforces yellow boxes in that respect. And we are, because it won't be complicated. It will actually make it easier for us going forward.
Can I just reply on that? KCC on part of... I'll give up.
Thank you, Councillor Tongs. Any other members have any questions, please? No other questions? Councillor Coburn, you haven't got one? No, not with this. Okay.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. As a bay holder, me and several neighbours are having problems with the parking team at Thanet Council. Now, one instance is after the June meeting, I spoke to Vicky and another lady after I think it was a June Joint Transportation Board meeting, and they were amazed that the out-of-hours team did not have any contact for the parking team. And they assured me that the parking team should be available to the out-of-hours team if needed. Then we have, they also said on here that there's been an issue regarding bays in our road, and the council sent a letter out. Now that letter come from the parking office, Rebecca Glazier. Now that contains information that is contradictory on there and against the application. The bays are there for the applicants to parking, which, as we all know, the bays are for any valid blue badge holder. So the parking office, again, confusing information. But size, now there's two sizes of bay. There's a normal bay and extended bay. Now, according to TDC, that size varies, depends who's on duty. Because I've spoken to Councillor Saunders and the parking office, we have submitted lots and lots of photographs of cars and vans that are half in the bay. And the email reply is, unless the vehicle is half the vehicle is in the bay, a ticket cannot be issued. So therefore you can lose a third each end of the bay, have no usable space, or you can't even get your vehicle out. Parking team's not interested, not enforceable, which I think's wrong. If the guidance is a bay should be 6.6 metres long and 2.7 metres wide, then that should be the size that's enforceable. If something is 5 or 10 centimetres over, that's okay. But when they are that much of the vehicle is in the bay, no enforcement, and there was another vehicle behind it, on the other end. I couldn't get a scooter out the back. I couldn't even get the vehicle out the parking space. Reply from the parking office: we have looked at the photos, and it clearly says that unless half the vehicle is in the bay, no enforcement action is taken. So I ask for guidance from the committee to look again at the size of the bays that make the whole bay enforceable, because at the moment is unclear to certain traffic people. I've spoken to 4 officers, 2 would give tickets and 2 wouldn't. And this guidance has come from Rebecca Glazier, who I now understand is on maternity leave. I've done 2 Freedom of Information requests, 17th of the 12th, one to TDC and one to KCC, regarding where these instructions are that say you can't give a ticket to anything unless it's half it or more in the bay. No such guidance exists. So,
okay, Mr. Wright, you have had your 3 minutes,
Yes, thank
over
you.
your 3 minutes. Thank you very much. I don't know if we can get a response from either of the officers here. Okay.
That's okay with you.
You will get a response in the report. Okay. Thank you very much. Councillor Whitehead, you would like to speak under Council Procedure 2.01. 3 minutes, please. Thank you.
I'll do my very best. Thank you very much, Councillor Saunders. I'm here representing several residents who consistently struggle not only with the usage of their disabled parking bay, but also with the enforcement surrounding those bays and the response that we are currently giving when there is an enforcement issue. It is these issues that led me to call Council to support personalised parking permits for disabled residents, to ask for a full audit of our current bays and usage, which I'm glad to see is happening, and to promote and call for personalised bays to be instituted at a county level. as other councils already do this, and as it is the only way to resolve many of these issues, it is, to my mind, something that county should be wholeheartedly supporting and we at district should be championing. In relation to the strategy before us, I ask all present to look at our duties in relation to equality. At the heart of all our decision and policy making is our public sector equality duty, and it is as follows. In all our decisions, policies and strategies, we are bound to act in a way that eliminates unlawful discrimination, harassment, victimisation and other conduct prohibited by the Equality Act 2010. We are to advance equality of opportunity between people who share a protected characteristic and people who do not share it, and we are also bound to foster good relations between people who share a protected characteristic and people who do not share it. In relation to disability, equality and equity within populations does not mean providing the same provision or level of support. To use a simple metaphor, equity between individuals is not guaranteed simply by ensuring that everyone is allocated a seat within a room. Equity asks how that room can be accessed and whether the allocated seats are accessible to everyone. It asks if the seats are suitable for everyone. It asks if seats are needed. It asks whether any external issues could prevent access to that room. It asks what each individual needs and works to ensure that parity of access is guaranteed, that life and living is equally enabled by making adjustments when necessary. To follow this metaphor further, we currently have residents who often cannot either access or exit this metaphorical room, and in reality, their own rooms. As a reflection of this, disabled parking is not simply a parking issue and cannot be considered in the same way as our standard enforcement approaches. It is an access to life issue. Treating it as an ordinary issue of enforcement diminishes the impact that the loss of parking can have on a disabled individual. If someone has been assessed as needing proximity parking adjacent to their home due to disability, it's because that access enables them to live their lives in a way that many of us take for granted. Most of us can adjust to a parking spot further down the road. Those who have applied for and been accepted for a disabled parking bay cannot. And so the way we enforce and provide for these spaces is in and of itself an equality duty. Being completely unable to move in and out of your home due to inconsiderate parking requires an extra response above and beyond our standard response to parking enforcement, as it is not a matter of inconvenience. It is a matter of quality of life and ensuring that we meet our public sector equality duty. I do not believe that our strategy currently meets that duty. To quote from page 37, reports of illegal parking can be made out of office hours by emailing the civil enforcement team, and these will be relayed to the civil enforcement officers once office hours resume and, where necessary, put in the diary for further visits. Our officers will issue a penalty charge notice to a vehicle which has observed parking in contravention of the following: parked in a designated disabled person's parking place without clearly displaying a valid disabled person's badge. If no contravention is observed when our officers attend, we will not be able to issue a penalty charge notice. What this strategy effectively says to anyone reading it is that outside office hours, anyone can use a disabled parking bay and remove an individual's right to freedom of movement. It also informs anyone reading that as long as they remove their vehicle by the time office hours resume, there will be no penalty for removing a vulnerable individual's right to access. To properly fulfil our public sector equality duty, we have to offer a response service to disabled individuals in relation to their need to access, and it is not sufficient to effectively allow significant periods of time where disabled individuals' rights to live in equity are removed.
Are you almost there now, Councillor Whitehead? You're well over 3 minutes. So.
I beg the Chair's discretion at this point. I don't have that much longer to go, I promise. Thank you very much. We do need to have officers prioritise attending in order to fulfil our duties as a council, and we should not be putting in writing that we cannot even guarantee attendance when it involves something as significant as equalities legislation. As Mr. Wright mentioned, in relation to response, guidance on what constitutes an infringement also seems to vary, with residents being officially informed that infringement has not occurred unless a vehicle is parked over halfway into a bay. Any blockage or incursion to a disabled bay can render it unusable due to the potential need for ramps and general access. And if this is the guidance, I believe it needs to be altered to recognise that any blockage needs to be acted upon, as any incursion into a disabled bay can completely remove access. And this guidance potentially means that 2 vehicles at either end of a bay can completely obstruct a parking spot, with somehow no offence being committed. I understand more than anyone the impact of central cuts on services that we provide. but we are simply not fulfilling our public sector equality duty if we accept this strategy as it stands. It directly allows for the removal of rights of disabled residents to access and leave their properties, and allows no civil remedy if an infringement is not directly observed by us, when we don't offer a response service and make no guarantee of attendance and cannot be contacted outside office hours. I am asking that all of the above issues be addressed alongside the Bay Review, and that as a council we are updated on progress towards personalised parking permits, as this is, to my mind, the best way for this issue to be addressed. I have huge respect for officers who are having to work in an environment of reduced funding, and I accept fully that this is an issue of capacity and likely budget, but neither of those can or should remove our equalities duty, and as a council we have a legal requirement to promote equity, and as it stands, I'm afraid this strategy does not do that. I thank you, Chair, and I apologise for overrunning.
Thank you, Councillor Whitehead.
Can I just say, as a bay holder, we are happy to pay an extra fee if anything but permits is available. We are open to that idea.
Okay, thank you. I call upon Ms Young, Parking Policy Officer, to introduce the report.
Hello, thank you, Chair. We've written this report to try and sort of summarise the process around disabled persons parking bays and what we can do within our designated powers for them bays. So as this report summarises, we have had communications with disabled person bays holders, and we have looked at our processes and how we can try to improve that. So as the report outlines, there is a application process that a disabled badge holder must go through in order to get a disabled person's parking bay outside of their residence, and it is made clear on application verbally over the phone when an application pack is requested, and when the application pack is sent, it is said that any valid blue badge holder may park within the bay, and it is not a guaranteed personal bay. That is established from the start. There, in regards to the disabled persons parking bays guidance, there may be historic bays within the district which do not match the guidance set out by the British Parking Association, because they are historic and this legislation was updated a few years ago. They do say now that the bays must be a minimum of 6.6 metres long, 2.7 metres wide or 3 metres wide where placed in the centre of the carriageway. So we are shortly undertaking a disabled persons parking place audit, and this will aid us in establishing any bays which may not be at that required length, so that we can move forward and make these changes. And we have been in conversation with some bay holders within the district already who have been experiencing issues where their bay was not at that 6.6 metres in length, and we have gone ahead and extended the bay to assist them holders with their issues that they've been experiencing, and we will continue to do so. Enforcement of the disabled parking bays will come under the usual duties of our civil enforcement officers. Just to give some insight into how this will work, our officers will be allocated what we refer to as a beat, so an area for their shift, and they will enforce and patrol restrictions within this area during their shift. We will have to prioritise and focus our enforcement on dangerous bays, busy areas, towns, seafronts, double yellow lines, and unfortunately we're not a response service, and any reports of illegal parking made to the civil enforcement office team are recorded and communicated to the officers on the ground during office hours. So if we receive a telephone call, we will report that to our officers there and then, and where practical and where possible, they will attend if it's within their beat and their shift. We do have reports, like it says here, you can make reports of illegal parking out of office hours by emailing the civil enforcement team, and these will be relayed to the civil enforcement officers, and if it's an ongoing issue there will be appointments made, like points in the diary, so that they are aware that during the office hours when the team aren't available to take them phone calls, that these experiences are happening, so that they can go and try and enforce without having to be prompted, and we will try and anticipate these areas and patrol these areas where possible. We, unfortunately, within the legislation, we can only issue a penalty charge notice to a vehicle which is observed being parked in contravention which is known as Code 40, and that is parked in a designated disabled person's parking place without clearly displaying a valid disabled person badge. Unfortunately, because we can only enforce what is in legislation, if no contravention is observed and there is no vehicle parked within part of the bay, unfortunately we are not able to issue a penalty charge notice in that instance. So that's sort of a summary of the report there.
Thank you. Do members have any questions or comments, please? Councillor Crowbourne, you was first for your hand up.
Thank you. Yeah, this issue first come up. Mr. Ray and a neighbour brought it to numerous councillors' attention, as you'll be aware, Chair. Councillor Binks informs me she has asked for a chapter and verse summary of the regulations nationally, and as they are interpreted by TDC. As you probably know, these bays are requested by individuals who pay for them. However, they are not guaranteed a parking space, as any holder of a blue badge can legitimately use them. Other vehicles, as you've mentioned, cannot park in them and will be ticketed, as you previously said. The latest regulations, TSRGD 2016, relax the size of the bays. Whilst the minimum width of 1.8 metres is specified, there is no longer a maximum width, Councillor Binks informs me, nor a minimum or maximum length. The intention is to allow traffic authorities flexibility in determining the bay or parking space size, appropriate both for the intended vehicle type and the surrounding street environment. Bay markings and parking space should be of sufficient length and width to fully accommodate the vehicles for which they are intended. In cases where larger vehicles, for example 4x4 type vehicles, cannot fit fully within the marking, it is recommended that the traffic authorities use discretion over enforcement. In light of advice received from the Disabled Persons Transport Advisory Committee, minimum dimensions are still prescribed for bays reserved for the disabled bay holders. As you previously mentioned, this must be a minimum of 6.6 metres long and 2.7 metres wide. Some of the issues that Mr. Rate has, sometimes one or two unauthorised vehicles parked partly in the space of each bay, rendering it useless, and this has been previously mentioned at meetings. Mr. Ray has a large vehicle with a ramp and needs the entire bay length. Mr. Ray has been informed by both TDC councillors and officers that as long as less than half of an unauthorised vehicle, i.e. no blue badge, is in the bay, TDC can take no action. That has previously been mentioned at previous meetings. This is regardless of whether the offending vehicle is a mini or a truck. The resident has been told by TDC such cases will win on appeal, so it is not worth doing. So I'll ask officers to take note of that. No evidence has so far been produced that this policy is in accordance with KCC or national guidelines. So if this is the case, and unless they show otherwise, Councillor Binks estimates that this originates within Thanet District Council. TDC have a duty of care to the public, also with regard to equality, as Councillor Whitehead mentioned. Policy that enables an unauthorised vehicle to park such that it deprives a person of this disability from utilising the disabled parking bay could possibly be in contravention of that duty and in intentions of the Equality Act. At such times, the resident says he is advised to phone TDC parking enforcement team, and he's encountered numerous issues. He's had numerous problems getting through to enforcement, both during normal working times, but particularly out of hours on evenings, weekends and holidays. Mr. Rate was once actually put through to a slough number via TDC's out-of-hours service. Is there any out-of-hours response in such circumstances? If so, what is the number? In the report, TDC now say enforcement will only be on regular patrols on residential areas. There is no automatic response to complaints. Out of hours service is only by email to the civil enforcement team. The TDC website does not clearly state which email it is. Is it carparking@thanet.gov.uk? And that's me. Thank you.
Sorry, can I come in? Because I was trying to actually add to Abby's report, but I didn't get an opportunity to before your question. So if I can just add, that may possibly answer some of those questions. So I think what we've heard today about the out of hours is something that we could definitely take away and look at. We aren't a response service. We're not a 999. We can't guarantee that when people call, we'll be able to be there. We just don't have that ability. Even, do I dare say this, the police don't have that ability. So I think we need a bit of realism about what we can provide in terms of an out of hours service. But absolutely, it's the main switchboard number to call. And that goes through to our out-of-hours service. If there are problems with our out-of-hours service, that doesn't sit with us, unfortunately. But I know that there has previous, and I've responded to Mr. Raitt around something recently where the calls weren't actually put through to, I think it's something has to flick a switch, so all of our calls go through to the out-of-hours service, and something happened that it didn't work one weekend. Unfortunately, that's out of our control. But yeah, absolutely take that back in terms of the out-of-hours and what we can do. But it won't be an instant response service, and I think that's something I just needed to put across. We don't have that ability, unfortunately.
Grateful for your response. Thank you.
Thank you. Other members? Councillor Fellow.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just want to pick up a couple of things that Councillor Crowe-Brown, I mean, he's covered most of the things, but to do with this 50% parking in a bay, is this a TDC policy that we don't ticket cars or vehicles that are 50% in a bay? Because I mean, it has been spoke about at the meetings before about this, you know, and I think it was all about because we'd lose on appeal. Apparently, Can we just confirm if this is our policy or?
So it's not a policy, and we're not entirely sure where this 50% has come from either. So it's something that we're going to have to take away, because obviously I don't know whether you're all aware that I am very new to parking, and so unfortunately is Abby. So we are a bit kind of getting some of the information tonight as well. If you look at most parking contraventions, they have to be parked, which is the wheels into the bay. So that's what we would be looking at. So I don't know where the 50% has come from, but we would be. The definition that's read out is exactly there, that it has to be parked in the bay. So we're looking at parked, so I'm not sure where 50% has come from, and that's something that we will clarify, and we can put that into this as well.
So can Mr. Raitt be assured that 100% of enforcement officers will now give tickets instead of 50%, as he's telling us, from going forward?
Yeah, we will. We have already spoken to enforcement officers about following on from some complaints that we've been dealing with recently. So yeah, absolutely.
And also, sorry, one more thing. Can we do anything from photographic evidence of a car parked in a space, or is that impossible?
No, unfortunately, we need to witness it in order to be able to do it, because we have to be able to put it on the vehicle when we see it. So.
Right, Councillor Tonks.
Do you have a map in your office of how many parking bays you've got? I probably haven't, and you haven't. And it's a question. When we had a mobile library in Ramsgate, Cannon Road, we got 4 disabled bays there. Never in my lifetime have 4 vehicles turned up in that disabled bay. I can't remember why, and I don't know why that was ever put there, because the mobile library was the other end of Cannon Road. So look at that poor souls had to walk from there. So anyway, you've got those 4 bays that are in your allocations that are never used. They're in Cannon Road. Probably 1 out of 4 will probably be used. There's not going to be 4 people turning up or disabled. But I mean, maybe you could lose 2 of them and allocate them somewhere else. Much needed. Just a thought.
Thank you for that. I'd just say that we don't sort of enforce on that area. So as in, we don't say we've got 100 bays, we can only force 100 bays. So it doesn't matter how many we've got. So just wanted to make that.
Councillor Yates.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, following on from the fellow councillors, it's been highlighted about an email address. I don't actually know what that email address is either. And I've just 2 days ago sent an email about a parking contravention to car parking, didn't get any response. So what is the official email address, please?
So it is car.parking@thanet.gov.uk. So you won't get a response straight away. I think you get a bounce back that says it's within a certain number of days if it's gone to the correct address. So yeah, that will be.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying. Thanks.
Any other members would like to? Councillor Scobie.
What if you don't have access to email?
Then you can call us. And you can drop into the gateway, I believe, as well.
Sorry?
You can drop into the gateway, I believe, as well. Our front desk is open to take calls, so yeah.
That's if you can get out of your parking bay.
Okay, thank you. Any other members? Okay.
Councillor Graham, can you pop your mic off for me?
Thank you.
Excuse me, Chairman. Could we have a meeting with the parking lady, with my local councillor sometime to physically and talk through the whole issues, because not all of them have been addressed and not all the concerns are there. So I would like to see if there's possible face-to-face to go through the concerns, please.
It appears that you may do that. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So this is us bringing forward the new proposals for some new restrictions across the district of Thanet. We have provided those in map form. These are in place to assist with the flow of traffic and access issues that may have been experienced by residents and some councillors and also KCC. We've got a mixture of where these requests have come from. These have all been visited and investigated, and these are the ones that we are proposing that will then, if the board agrees, take forward to public consultation to add to the traffic regulation order. So I will go to page 43 and just skip through. So we are looking to extend some double yellow lines on Belvedere Road in Broadstairs and remove one permit bay so that there is a resident who has a rear gated access that will be their driveway. So we will be looking to take that to consultation so that member can have access to their property. We've got Westover Road and Westover Gardens in Broadstairs. We're looking to install double yellow line corner protections for sight lines and pulling out onto the road. Moving on to Margate, we've got Enterprise Road in Margate. We're looking to add again, corner protection double yellow lines for access for deliveries for large B&Q lorries. That was a request from Kent County Council. Westbrook Road and Seaview Terrace in Margate. We are looking to install a section of double yellow lines to keep gated access to a residence of Charlotte Court clear. Problematic in the summer being a seafront location, and they are having access getting to their parking area. And then we have Wyndham Avenue in Margate. Again, this will be a new installation of double yellow lines. There is a small section of road between two dropped cars and two forecourts, which if a vehicle parks overhangs both sides, causing access issues on each side. Moving on to Ramsgate, we've got Archway Road in Ramsgate. We're looking to extend the double yellow lines on Archway Road due to access issues and obstruction issues for residents in the area. We're also looking to extend double yellow lines on the cloisters in Ramsgate, again due to access issues for residents and waste disposal teams. And then we have got a number of double yellow line installations in the Meridian Village in Ramsgate, which again is to ease access issues for residents, and they've also been experiencing issues with waste collection, so that is to ease all points of access for residents and waste disposal. Lastly, we've got St Mildred's Road in Westgate, which is an extension to existing W lines on a corner junction to improve sight lines when pulling out of the junction, because it's a main road, and due to large vehicles parking, this is quite frequently obstructed, so that's to improve that. So that just summarises what we're looking to take forward. If there's any questions.
Do you have any questions, members? No questions? Recommendation is that the subject to the views of the board, the recommendations shown in Appendix 1 are approved, and that the proposals which require statutory consultation are advertised, and that any traffic-related objections are reported back to a future meeting of the board. Can I have a proposer, please? Councillor Fellows. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Crowbrown. Thank you. Agenda item 8 is proposed disabled persons parking places, various roads, Thanet. I called upon Miss Young, Parking Policy Officer, and introduce the report. I think I've just done that one. Is there two of them?
Yeah.
Okay, beg your pardon.
Thank you,
Okay,
Chair.
it's like it's duplicated, isn't it?
It's very similar, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So this proposal is just for the input of new disabled persons parking places. All these locations listed have already got interim bays, and part of the application process, a small consultation with direct neighbours has been undertaken. We are proposing to the board, if in approval, that these will then be taken forward and added to our traffic regulation order, allowing them to become enforceable bays. So again, I will just run through the maps, and just to outline, in Broadstairs we have outside 20 Linden Avenue, Percy Avenue outside number 61, and then moving to Margate outside 14 Dane Road, and outside 43 Hastings Avenue, outside 60 Milton Avenue, and outside 11 Poets Corner. We have got the outside 1 Richmond Avenue, and outside 3 Upper Dane Road, and also outside 24 Windsor Avenue. So they are all the ones for Margate. Moving on to Ramsgate, we have got a installation outside 24 Buxton Road. We've got one outside 3 Dane Road. We've also got one outside 9 Dane Road. We've got one outside 21 Edith Court. We've got one outside 62 Lorena Road, and outside 17 Queens Avenue, and outside 21 Royal Road. So that's the ones that we propose for Ramsgate. Moving on to Westgate, we have got one outside 33 Belmont Road, outside 69A C Road, and to the rear of 83A C Road, which will actually be located, the bay will be located on Westgate Bay Avenue. So they are the ones that we are proposing to take forward. Thank you.
That the proposals which require statutory consultation are advertised, and that any traffic-related objections are reported back to a future meeting of the board. Can I have a proposer, please? Councillor Tonks, and a seconder, please. Councillor Yates, thank you. Agenda item 9, verbal update on public consultations. I call upon Miss Button, Director of Neighbourhoods, to provide the update. Thank you, Penny.
And I'm quickly going to defer to Abby to provide the update.
Hello again, you'll be bored of me. So this is just to update the board on restrictions which have previously come to the board and have been out to consultation, just to give you an update with where we're at. So first of all, we did go out to consultation following recommendation of the board to add some off-street caravan and motor caravan parking places. We're pleased to confirm that there was only one comment received for this public consultation, which was in favour of the proposed changes. These are going ahead. All costs have been agreed via our fees and charges, and we anticipate this restriction to be live for the 1st of April 2022, ready for the summer season. This has been part of also a consolidation of our off-street order, meaning we will have a consolidated off-street traffic regulation order as of the 1st of April 2022. The locations for which the campervan parking will be available will be 5 bays in Minnis Bay, Birchington. There will be 4 bays in St Mildred's Bay, Westgate. There will be 5 bays in Barnes Car Park, Margate. There will be 3 bays in Joss Bay Car Park, Broadstairs, and there will be 4 bays in Marina Esplanade, Ramsgate. So we have tried to listen to the board's comments and go out for seafront locations for motor caravans, and there will be a £10 charge for 24 hours of parking. The second update is actually for our on-street consolidation order, and that is for consultation on multiple double yellow lines in the Margate area, and we also went out to consultation for a no loading ban in Herbert Place. Firstly, Herbert Place, we received multiple comments from local businesses regarding large deliveries and how that would impact the businesses. So we are going to amend this proposal to shorten the length of the no loading ban to allow space for a goods vehicle loading bay. These new proposals will be going back out to public consultation, and we will report back to the board upon the closure of that consultation. We also had a proposal to extend the existing double yellow lines in Edgar Road in Cliftonville, Margate. We've received multiple comments in objection to this proposal. We have abandoned the extensions of the double yellow lines as it's going to cause detrimental effect to local residents and in an already difficult parking area, and we are going to leave the existing corner protections as they are. And then all other proposals for double yellow lines within this amendment will be going ahead and will be going out as a live amendment to our order later this year. Thank you. If you have any questions.
Thank you. Do members have any questions, please? Councillor Fellows.
I'll let you go first then.
Sorry, Trevor. Thank you, Chair. Can I just clarify one back to the Minnis Bay bit? You said 5 bays in Minnis Bay. Minnis Bay car park or?
Sorry, this is car park, it's all off street. The first part for motor caravans and caravans, they are all car parks, so they will all be off street.
And how does one get a ticket for £10?
So it will be as the methods are already there, so dependent on location, it will either be by pay and display machine or via Ringo. Barnes Car Park is a Ringo only cashless payment zone, so you will only be able to purchase that via the Ringo service, but in all other locations you will pay at the pay and display machine or you can use your mobile phone.
So those machines in Minnis Bay are going to be altered to so at a certain time you can only buy a campervan ticket for £10, yeah?
Correct. All changes are going ahead and should be live on the 1st of April.
Thank you. Councillor Tonks.
Just a question, really. Thanks for the update on the caravans. It is a big of a problem in Ramsgate, it has been. Maybe because it's a bit more sunny in Ramsgate than most parts. And that. Some of the caravans that used to park along the seafront now are parking outside the Montefiore Medical Centre. I don't know whether it's affecting, plus you've got other businesses along there. But anyway, I just wonder whether you can help me out. For many a year, we've got yellow lines along Grange Road and KCCLs before. Nobody can actually back a lorry in to unload at Londis. They're on the pavement, you've got the flats opposite, and they're there all day. Can anybody just help them shops out, find out what day the delivery is, and make sure they enforce no parking? Because some of them lorries are up on the pavement near the zebra crossing. Just think it done.
Of course, we can absolutely do that. We can get that added to the diaries for regular patrols, no problem.
Any other members? Any more questions? Okay, this item is for information. Please can members note this update. That concludes the business for the evening. Thank you for your attendance. Councillor Tonks.
It's Trevor again, KCC. Now, because we've got no councillor a KCC person here. All my raft of issues, who can I pass it on to? Because I'm here on other people's behalf. I mean, we've got parking problems at St Nicholas and Abby Smith from there. And I said, well, I'm at the meeting tonight, so I've got a whole raft of issues. And I actually been to KCC at Highways at Sandwich. So am I wasting my time? Because we're KCC, we're trying to do what the people elected us for. And I was looking at a person on a Zoom meeting. I've got a raft of issues. And no, we're not responsible for this. TDC. No, we're not. That's KCC. So I'm lost. I'm lost in space. Now, what can I do with all my concerns? I've got a list. Well, why isn't he here?
I did explain the reason why Paul Vallick wasn't here. Anyway, we have actually concluded this meeting now, so good evening everybody and thank you very much.